Today, I want to talk about the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in Genesis 2 and 3 from a spiritual perspective, because that story is usually told from a literal perspective, and it's hard for a lot of people to swallow it from a literal perspective. But the Bible is a book of spiritual truths, spiritual realities. And when you look at the Bible that way, that story becomes a lot more palatable. The Bible certainly has a lot of literal history in there, but it's mainly and primarily a book of spiritual realities. We're going to look at that story, the the deception where Eve was deceived into partaking of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, from a spiritual perspective. Specifically, we're going to look at the qualities of that fruit. While I believe it was a physical fruit, its qualities were all spiritual. It promised to make you wise, enlighten you, and make you like God. Okay, those are its main qualities, which sounds good, but it's always easiest to deceive people with things that sound good. It's not so hard. It's not so easy to deceive people with things that sound obviously wrong, which is half of the tactics that get used on people. Half of the enemy's tactics that the enemy uses on people. So let's look at those three qualities and what they do. Basically, the first thing that they can do to people, let's say that first. First thing it does is it can make you like God. And it says that in there. It says you can be like God. Why is that a problem? Because when you're like God, you have no need for God. Basically, it promises to make you like God, and that you can figure things out on your own. You can figure out what's right and wrong on your own. You can do it on your own. You can be good on your own. That's basically what that fruit promises. What that quality of that fruit promises. It promises to make you like God, in that you can be good on your own. You can figure out what's right and wrong on your own. You can do it all yourself, so you have no need for a relationship with God. Okay? We see that the world over. The second thing that fruit can do is it provides you the means to be good, right? and when you can be good on your own, what in the world promises to make people good? It's basically religion. There are thousands of religions in the world that promise to make you good, promise all the qualities of God, such as peace, truth, unity, etc., 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 kindness. You name any quality, a good quality, which all come from God, but they make it available to you on your own. That's the main point of religion. That's what all religions do. All religions are trying to achieve a godlike state without God. Even those that claim to serve God. Most of them. So that's the second thing that it does. And it will keep you busy with that religion, because religion does what? It looks like God, it sounds like God, feels like God, but it's not God, right? So, and there are billions of people involved in religions. Well, millions of people, I don't know. A lot of people involved in religion, and that keeps them away from relationship with God. Okay, that's the second thing. Third thing that fruit will do it will cause you to think that having a relationship with God is strange. And this is rampant in the world when people talk about having a relationship with God and knowing Christ or knowing God. They're looked upon as if they're weird or insane, right? That dynamic is rampant in the world. Try going out there and saying, "Oh, God told me this," or "Me and God are doing this," and they'll think you're crazy. That's a result of that fruit in people's spirits and hearts and minds. Because that fruit is a spiritual, mental fruit. It might have been a physical fruit. Okay, I believe it was a physical fruit, but its effects were all spiritual and mental. If you read its qualities, it lists its qualities in there, right? It says it looks good for food, looks good to make one wise, to enlighten the eyes, and to make one like God. Those are not physical effects. Those are spiritual effects. Okay, so while it might have been a physical fruit, it had spiritual effects. So it's a spiritual dynamic, which was my point at the beginning, is teaching us a spiritual truth, not necessarily a physical one, okay? That's a spiritual dynamic that's still readily available today, and people are partaking of it today. If you look at those three things, people got it figured out on their own, right? So they don't need God. They know what's right, they know what's wrong. I can quote Tom Petty, right? I know what's right, I got just one life, and I won't back down because I can do it on my own, right? That sentiment is worldwide. I got it figured out on my own. I know what's right, I know what's wrong. I don't need God. Okay? Second thing is religion, boy. People who see all the qualities of God and they're available via that spiritual fruit without God. That's what religion does. And the third thing is, if it can't get you by those first two ways, gets you by the third way, which is causing you to think their relationship with God is strange. And you're nuts if you have a relationship with God. Okay? All three of those things have one common goal: to keep you, the human being, out of relationship with God. Which, if you look at that first story, is what happened. They were in relationship with God. Relationship, love, relationship. Fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, spiritual, mental dynamic, no more love with God. That's the spiritual reality that it's teaching us, okay? And I say that because a lot of people have trouble with it literally, which I get. It can be challenging to believe literally. But that's the spiritual truth that is teaching us. And what's the solution? To return to love with Him. Love with Jesus. Love with God, which is where they were just before that happened. And those three things went worldwide. That's the truth of Genesis 2 and 3. Thank you and have a nice day.